Hey everyone, welcome to the Naked Conversations podcast. I'm your host, Sage Hobbs, author and creator of Naked Communication, and I'm so psyched you're here. This show is all about taking charge of your life in new and inspired ways to create a life you deeply love. It's about being more you in all areas of your life, more courageous, more free, more alive, more naked. I'll be sharing stories and advice from amazing people around the world who are up to incredible things on how they are successfully breaking free from fear and old patterns in order to create incredible relationships and impactful lives so that you can do the same. This is the place to be inspired to live a courageous and naked life. Let's do this. Hi, everyone. Welcome back to the Naked Conversations podcast. I'm your host, Sage Hobbs. And as always, I'm super psyched you're listening in. I have a really great guest for you today. And before I introduce her to you, I just have a couple of quick announcements. If you haven't checked out the free How to Ask for What You Really Want cheat sheet over at sagebhobbs.com, I just want to make sure that you know that that is there for you. I have a lot of women asking me regularly about how to, make more requests at work with their lovers and partners and spouses of their children, how to really ask more powerfully for what they really want. And so I just want you to know that that's over there at sagebhobbs.com. Also over there, you can figure out how to grab a copy of Naked Communication, which is my book, and it just goes more deeply into how to have courageous conversations in all spectrums of your life, how to really make those connections with more ease and confidence, how to handle conflict, because we all have conflict, with more grace. So go over there, sagebhobbs.com, and check it out. So today I have Maru Iabichela, and Maru is such a firebrand. I just love her. I met her a couple of years ago at a conference and was immediately drawn to her energy. And since then, she's really taken off and created a global movement where she teaches people how to be infinite receivers. She's a speaker. She runs a program called Infinite Receiving. She's spoken to groups ranging from 120 people to 1,000 plus people all over the US and the world. She's originally from Venezuela, and we talk about how she had to make huge adjustments in her own life, courageous leaps when she moved to this country and learned a new language. And then again, when she chose to leave corporate America and really launch a huge business that had a lot more woo and spirituality behind it. She's really on a mission to teach people how to expand energetically, mentally, and successfully to make room for everything that is desired in life and business. She believes there's no limit to how much we can receive except for the limits we place on ourselves. So we get into all of that today, being at crossroads, making new choices, the moment where she really felt like she hit rock bottom and then decided to do something different, how it has been to travel all over the world, even though she has a 3-year-old, and how you can begin right now to receive more in your own life. So make sure to tell me what you think about this show. I love doing it. Maru is really just full of power and passion and has so much to share. And I'd really love to hear what you think. So head on over to the Facebook group, the Naked Communication Facebook group, which you can find at sagebhobbs.com/Facebook, and just let us know what you think. We really want to hear your questions and have you connect with others who are on this naked path with you. So let's dive in. Hi, Maru. I'm so excited to have you on the Naked Conversations podcast today. Thank you for being here.
Thank you for having me. I'm super excited as well.
Yay. All right. So I'm going to start out with a question that I ask everyone. And it's so fun to hear the different answers have been so far, which is, what does courage mean to you?
Ooh, for me, courage is to have the strength to follow your heart and your intuition, even if it makes no sense to anyone but yourself.
Oh my gosh, I love that. Okay. So that bleeds perfectly into, I want you to tell people a little bit about who you are and what you do. And that your courage definition, since I know you a little bit, is perfectly tuned into that.
Yay. Well, first of all, I love you. And I'm so glad that you're doing this and sharing your voice with the world and giving people like myself and so many other women the opportunity to share about our work and our message. And so I'm super grateful to be here. Yay. When you said, ask to share a little bit about me, that's a tough question for me because there's so much that I could say about myself. So
I totally get that.
Feels like un poquito, no, can we do a lot? But we don't have 7 hours, so let me get right to it. So I believe that Sage invited me to be part of this podcast because her and I have known each other for, 2 years, 3 years now. And she's seen my evolution going from someone who was literally just trying to make it, talking to everybody at every event, hustling, trying to get my coaching online, to do something.
Right,
And
right, totally.
I've gone from that, which is, I believe, when I met you, to creating this worldwide movement called Infinite Receiving, where essentially is a message that came to me in February 2016 or March 2016. And I was in a moment of total despair. And this particular message came to me when I really needed it. And it completely changed my life. I went on to go, I went from single mom, drought of income of 25 days, really struggling, had my gas cut off at my house. So I couldn't even bathe my baby in warm water because it was cold water because the gas was cut off. I went from that to creating over $500,000 in revenue in my business in 2016 and surpassing that already in 2017 and traveling the world 45,000 miles just in 2017 alone. And not just, I mean, those years and stuff, but most importantly for me is just being born again as a woman, the woman of my dreams, the woman that's powerful, strong, that can speak up for herself, stand up for herself and not be afraid of the resistance or pushback or the critics and just really being able to sleep at peace at night, and getting a chance because when that Infinite Receiving message came to me and the gas was disconnected and I was in a major pivot point in my life and I was in a relationship that had overstayed its welcome and you name it, like everything needed to go. So it really felt like I went through this sort of burning of the bridges or burning of the foundation of sorts. And just a year and a half ago, not even that long ago to the time we're recording this podcast. And so, that's when you and I started getting to know each other better. And you even joined my program, Infinite Receiving. And life is amazing right now. I get to coach large groups of women every day and travel to speak and have a larger team. And now I have love in my life, like real love, which I don't think I had ever.
Yeah, it's huge.
So for sure. And more about me, I only wear blue. It's not a brand. It's truly a way of being for me. And blue is the color of the infinite, the ocean, the sky, the cosmos, heavens, it's blue. And I just, when the Infinite Receiving message came to me, because I did feel like it came out of the blue in the universe.
Yeah.
Wearing blue. And that's, if you find me on Instagram or Facebook, like you're going to notice that pretty much everything I do, wear and share has something to do with blue. And it's awesome.
So it's awesome. And that's so perfect, Maru, because it's so you, right? So, I mean, it is true. We met, I was actually thinking about this before we jumped on the phone. We met at a conference in Dallas. It was the first business conference that I had ever really attended in this current role that I'm in now as a coach and a writer and speaker. And you were so adorable. I loved you right away. I stood up to share at the microphone. This was April of 2015, I think. Yeah. And then I got off the microphone and I was walking back to my chair and you're like, hey, you, I need to talk to you. I think I could help you. And I was like, I love that. You just totally, were super radiant. And so it surprises me not at all that you've bursted out into the atmosphere in such a big, beautiful, shining way. But I want to break it down a little bit for people who are listening and may not, be in a place where they might feel a little bit more directionless or they're trying to find that voice, right? Sometimes I find that if you're the kind of woman who's really outspoken, other women really want that. They want to feel free and liberated in their voice. That's what Naked Conversations is all about. But they're like, but how? So can you explain just a little bit more about what Infinite Receiving is? And when you say it came to you, I want you to kind of speak to that a little bit.
Oh my gosh. So how woo-woo are you guys listening to this?
Exactly. I will de-wooify. Okay. Don't worry.
Yes, because I wasn't woo-woo. And I think I've been at my heart, I've always believed that there's more to life than just, getting a nice retirement and having more than one car in the garage and maybe a motorcycle and being able to take a couple of vacations a year. I've always known that. But when I became an entrepreneur, it was a struggle, man. So I was just trying to keep my head above water for the first 2.5 years. And I didn't give a chance to connecting to my higher self or really even slowing down enough to ask myself, is this what I really want to do? Is my business going in the direction that I desire? And I don't feel like I had that space, because I had a little baby and I was the breadwinner of the house. And so when everything came to a halt, basically last year, going back to the beginning of our conversation, I realized that I needed to give up or surrender or something, right? So I literally started asking different questions with myself, and it turns out with God or the universe, right? Because I was like, I don't want another client. I don't want another 5-figure month. I don't want another 6-figure year. I've already been there, done that, and it hasn't made me happy. I want a solution that would render money powerless over me. I want to just create. I want to be in my zone of genius all the time. What would it take for me to feel good all the time? What would it take for me to, not have this feast and famine in my business and in my life? And I just started asking different questions that would outsmart the issues I was having. And I didn't know that I was conversating with the universe or God or something. I literally just felt I was just talking to myself. And in March, I thought I had muted everything. Jesus, like my computer's making all this sound. Anyway, it's real, right? It's real.
Okay. It's all good. It's naked, baby. I know. That's why I called it that.
Yeah, that's why we don't do video, because you don't know what's going on behind the scenes, right?
Exactly.
Okay, so anyway, so I'm having this conversation with myself about like, oh my gosh, like I just don't want this anymore. Like this is not the dream. And I had an idea out of the blue, noted, right? And I was like, I just need to check out. Like I'm so tired. I'm frustrated. Nothing's working. I've talked to 18 potential clients. They all said no. Oh my God. And I decided to go to a hotel, and I literally had $300 to my name, and I spent $97 on a Priceline hotel in North Dallas. I live in Texas, and I just went. And on my way to the hotel, which the intention behind that checkout was to literally check out and just kind of get a break from reality. And if possible, go back to the drawing board and figure out like what on earth is not working, right? Because I just kept trying, applying all the strategies and what Marie Forleo told me to do, and Gina DeVee and all these well-known people in my industry, and nothing was working. So I go to this hotel to like get a break and see if my sticky notes and my flip charts and my markers will give me an idea that I didn't already know. And on my way to the hotel, in the car, I literally, believers and non-believers, I heard a voice that told me, you only get what you have the capacity to receive. I'll repeat that. You only get what you have the capacity to receive. And I heard it. And it was as much a voice as it was a feeling, because I just knew, and with every power in my being, it's kind of like when a woman knows they're pregnant, they know they're pregnant, and it's not like their belly has popped out or anything. You just kind of know. Or when you meet your loved one and and you're just like, I just know that I know that I know. That was that feeling, right? Of I only get what I have the capacity to receive. And I was just like, that's so weird, because I have plenty of capacity in my bank account. There's nothing there. And I don't get this. So I was being sarcastic with the voice of what was coming up, but I sat with it for a minute. And what I realized is that what if it's true that we each have a capacity to receive, and that maybe mine was small? And I asked myself, well, how big is my capacity to receive right now? And for those that are listening to this, pause it and just ask yourselves, how big is my capacity to receive right now? From 0 to 100, if you had to guess or come up with a number, what's that number? And I came up with the number 40. And I was like, are you kidding? Like, I say that I want all these things, that I'm ready to get all these clients, that I'm ready to get all this money. But energetically speaking, or in my mind, or wherever this number resides, I can't, it's just a 40%. I felt like I was trying to push out a baby with a 4 dilation.
Ouch.
You know what I mean? It's like you're trying to make it fit in, but the opening is just not there. The capacity is just simply not there.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh my gosh. And it literally sent my mind and my brain into a tailspin of like, what am I doing wrong? And so not shortly after that, I remember thinking to myself, like, how do you do this? How do you open your capacity to receive? How do you expand it?
Right.
And I had this visual of the cosmos. I literally, this is where I need y'all to hang with me. Okay. It did happen. It's for real. One of the reasons why I wear blue is I literally, like out of my left vision or something, I feel like I had a tiny little, probably 2x2, 4x4, I don't know, like a window into the universe. And all I saw was like a picture of the cosmos, as in the universe that's expanding infinitely, that NASA or the scientist says that the universe is expanding infinitely. And I thought to myself, I was like, can you imagine if this capacity to receive was growing every day?
Yes.
So in my head, I created this little formula. It used to be embarrassing to allow people into the inner workings of my crazy mind. But this time I was like, what if like this such thing, capacity to receive, was like the universe? Nothing I could do could stop it from growing and expanding infinitely. And I literally started saying my capacity to receive expands infinitely like the universe. And I said it many times because it sounded good to me.
Right. Well, you might as well replace our negative thinking with things that are going to feel good and sound good. I mean, that's part of the game too. It's just like shift the way you hold what's possible. So I love that you just played with it.
I did. It was literally just like in my mind, right? But what happened that was awesome and crazy was that within 25 minutes of me starting this conversation, someone had messaged me saying, I'm signing up for your $7,500 program. And I was like, did this just happen? Did someone just like agreed to send me $7,500, even though I had been in an 18 to 20 day drought of income and nothing I was doing was working? And in my head, the first thing I thought was, well, that was too easy. I'm sure that was a fluke. I'm sure it had nothing to do that occurring had nothing to do with what I saw and what I thought and what I said. But anyway, so the joke ends up being on me because I go to this hotel. I just watch The Voice. I don't do any work or anything like I thought I was going to do, right? Like, yeah, I literally just ordered takeout and watched The Voice. That was my checkout at the hotel. And then this was Saturday evening. By Thursday, my parents had called to offer to buy me a house for me and my son. A client had offered me a free week in San Bart, and I had received $32,000 in cash. And from like 3 or 4 clients that signed up out of the blue all at once. And I was like, are you serious? Like, it literally came out of the blue. And I kept thinking to myself, like, does it have anything to do with this weekend and what I saw, thought, and said? And I told a friend of mine, I was keeping it a secret because it felt really out there. And I told my friend, I was like, I felt this, I saw this, said this, and this happened. And she's like, tell me what to say and I'll say anything. So she calls me about an hour later, Sage. And I don't tell this story because, I have so much to talk about that. But it's really juicy, right? Like, I told her the story and she's like, I'll say this, whatever you tell me to do and say, I'll do it. And then she calls me back about 90 minutes after our call and she says, you're not going to believe what happened, but I said what you said and what you told me to say, and this woman called me out of the blue to hire me for this project that I've been sitting on for like 3 months. Then I told a friend of mine who couldn't sell her house and couldn't get a showing to save her life to just like, hey, try this on like a jacket, like you don't have to say it, but. And the next day she got 3 showings booked. And so it went. It took me about 3 weeks to not just believe it in myself, but to not feel like weird about it, because this was way more weird and woo-woo than anything I'd ever done and said on social media or in my business. But the more people I told, the more breakthroughs I would see. And so it wasn't until I felt like there was a clear hypothesis and a clear evidence that I went public with it. And it took me about 4 weeks. I did a video that ended up going viral, but more than the views, it was the testimonials that in about 4 days, I'd received close to 40 messages from people saying, watching your video, I won a scholarship. After I watched your video, a client paid me double out of the blue. After I watched your video, all those things. I was like, what? Are you kidding me? This is crazy. So my life completely changed. I remember having like anxiety, total anxiety and panic over what this meant in my life, because up until that point I was known for marketing and business, like just messaging, marketing, and just business coaching. So this felt a lot more mindset and spiritual and kind of metaphysical, but also very practical, which we'll dive into here shortly, I'm sure. Yeah. Because one thing is about, you asked me to share the background. That's where kind of how it started and where it comes from. But not only did it go on to change my life and give me financial stability and love and peace, but for me, the greatest gain of it all is that I literally feel like a born again woman. I grew up since I was little, shrinking, deflecting light, spotlight, compliments. I turned down my dad's inheritance because I felt bad for my brothers. I turned down promotions in my corporate job because I felt bad for the people that had been there longer than me. I would take guys back that cheated on me because I didn't know how to stand up for myself. And I thought that I still loved them.
Yeah.
I mean,
Wait, let me stop you there for just a second.
Yeah.
Because it's so good. So, because some of the people, obviously some of the women who are listening are not entrepreneurs, but they're all women who want more. That's why they're listening. They want some way to show up differently, to be more self-expressed, and to have their relationships be like really thriving in a meaningful way. Yeah. And you just dropped so much knowledge, but I want to just break it down also about where you came from. Like, you really weren't, from what I know of you, raised in a spiritual or woo-woo, as we'll call it, new agey kind of conversation in your family. Like, you're from, if you would tell people a little bit about where you're from, I'd be really curious to know, because people ask this a lot. Like, how did you then go share it with your mom and your fiance at the time? Like, how did you take that shift that was maybe counterculture to what you had been raised with or indoctrinated into or conditioned with? How did you share it with the people who already really knew you,
Yeah.
personally? Because this is really like the relationship piece is what trips people up. Like, oh my gosh, what if people think I'm super weird? Or, my mom thinks I'm crazy.
I think I had that. So my ex-fiance, he was very spiritual, but it was for me, my main concern were more my audience because I already had a tribe on social media and this felt like a huge pivot. And I was terrified and concerned about what people would think of me. Like, did she just lose her mind? This sounds too good to be true. That's too easy. This is a scam. Blah, blah, blah. That's why I didn't talk about it for a month because I kind of want it for myself because I'm also a businesswoman, right? And like I am metaphysical and new agey. I believe in that, but I'm also extremely practical. So, but for me, it was more like the pushback that I feared was just the public. If I shared this publicly, I had no control over it. It's like I had no control over people's thoughts about me. And I was under the impression that maybe staying in business coaching and just doing marketing stuff, that I somehow was controlling it better, but this felt so raw. It just felt so naked. You just shared this deep experience. So the way that I went about, coming out of the closet with it was that I did a video with no strings attached. I literally told my story, how you and I are talking about it. I resisted it like crazy. I remember putting a message out there and I said, hey guys, I'm going to do this little webinar called 7 Ways That You're Blocking Your Success and Money. I didn't call it Infinite Receiving. I said 7 ways that you're blocking success and money. And it was not, I probably had maybe 60, 80 signups because I shared it so little. I didn't promote it hardly at all. And I just did this video, and I said, I'll just do it for whoever shows up. I know I have to do it. I cannot sit on this. It feels too big. And if I sit on it, I don't want to mess it up, right? I'm just going to share my story and the 7 tips to open up so that you can allow more money and success. And what do you know? The thing kind of goes viral. It really spread like wildfire really, really fast. I'm trying to think back if nobody had ever asked me that question about how did you tell your mom? How did you tell these people? I was going through such a transition because I just become a single mom. And so all of it, and I didn't have a VA at the time. So all of it just felt so overwhelming. Overwhelming. That's the best word I have to describe it. But one of the commitments, or I don't even know if it's a commitment, but one of the decisions I made was that after talking to a friend of mine who's been a spiritual counselor for me, because I told her, I'm like, I don't know where this came from. And I don't know where I'm going with this because this represents a big pivot. Like I would have to take my website down if I say yes to this. And she was like, Maru, this is not of you or from you. If it feels this strong and you feel this much energy behind it, which is clear by the response that the video got, which, by the way, if you want me to share it, I'll send you the link because it's on YouTube.
Yeah, it's great. Awesome.
She's like, you have to say yes to this, right? And I want to take a moment to talk to anyone that cares to listen that sometimes we all have this sort of contractions of the heart and the soul, and they're like beating and they come and they're strong and they almost paralyze you and you won't do anything about them. You won't. It's like you'd rather just sit there and protect yourself from the critics or from what people would think of you or your mom or your fiance or whoever. And then what happens? The idea, the fetus, the embryo, the baby, that thing that came so strongly from the universe for you, it dies inside you. And then you have to birth it dead. And I'm being very dramatic.
Gosh, Maru, please keep listening. Yeah. I promise we won't stay on that.
No, you were like, Maru, please be naked. Please be honest.
Exactly. No, but you're right. Like if you don't listen to what those yearnings are, they go away.
What I'm saying, guys, like if I would have sat on this and it literally it felt like I was pregnant with something really huge. But my fears were coming in like, oh my gosh, I don't have a website. I don't have a VA. I don't have a team. How do I manage this growth? Like, oh my God, like I don't even know what it is. But I said yes. And the first idea I got was to teach a little class, a 4-week class. I'm like, I'll just do a little class on this and see what comes up. And I told everybody, let's learn together what this is. I have some ideas of what I want to teach. And boom, I had 98 people sign up for a $123 4-week class. I priced it low, compared to a lot of online programs, right? Like I was like 1, 2, 3, as easy as 1, 2, 3. And I had 98 people that signed up for it. And you do the math. It was like, holy smokes. Wow.
Yeah, big.
Yeah, it was big for me at the time, especially. And I'd never done a launch. I'd never put a program like that out there. And I cannot encourage you enough that if you feel like you're pregnant with something, with an idea, a dream or something, that fear is the natural protection of your soul in a way. It's like we fear moving forward because of these assumptions and projections of what could go wrong. But what if it went right? That's what
Right.
courage, I think, is about, right? And I had a lot of courage, and it paid off instantly, and it's kept paying off, and I'm in constant sort of communion with the energy of infinite receiving, because I think it's a living thing, and I do think that when you're committed to sharing your mission or your message, like, talk to it. It came to you for a reason. And I feel like I talk to infinite receiving all the time. I'm like, who do you want me to meet next? What would you want me to next? You know what? And
Yeah, I love that. Like an organic conversation with it's kind of like the way I hear what you're saying partially too is the idea baby needs to be born, and
oh, for sure.
and then you need to talk to it and keep it alive and keep it thriving.
Always. And you know what? I'm a mom. I have a 4-year-old, and it's extremely vulnerable to be a parent, right? Like, your heart can be broken. Like,
Oh my gosh, so
like,
much.
it's like the most vulnerable experience ever.
Yeah.
And would you trade it? Would you send your baby back to the womb? No. Like, it's meant to evolve and come out of you and be put out there. That's why it was given to you. And for you to try to stop it, slow it down, hold it back, it's like you're trying to regress evolution. And then you wonder why things are not happening faster for you. It's because you keep getting winning lottery numbers and you keep not playing them.
Right. Totally. Oh my gosh.
I need to write that down. I need to write winning lottery numbers.
Tweetable. So, but really, in all honesty, for those who are listening, like, look, sometimes it's scary as hell to share what is real for you, right? Or to listen to that little yearning or that instinct. It's really, really scary. Like, that's what Naked Conversations and what my book is about too. Like, how do we show up more authentically as who we really are so that we can reap the rewards of like deeper connection? Like I always say, like, you can't really have the kind of love you want if people don't really know you, because they can't really love what they don't see, what they don't know,
Oh my gosh,
So,
absolutely. Yeah. And I've learned. So you were saying to also share where I come from. So I was born and raised in Venezuela, and very conservative family and culture in a way. What was raised Catholic, and I don't know at what point I really stopped speaking up and for myself. I mean, obviously, when you're 5-6 years old, people assume that you don't know anything, right? So I don't know why I grew up with a belief that I wasn't taken seriously, that even if I thought something that, who cares about what you have to say? Like, you're not old enough or whatever. And so I really, I don't know. I definitely don't think I was myself a lot growing up. And I found a love for microphones when I was about 14, 15 years old. And I did. By the way, I have a blue microphone.
I know, I love that. We saw that before we went on the air, and it's so fun.
Yeah. Yes, it is. But I feel like when I came across microphones through school activities in Venezuela, did I say that? I was born and raised there.
Yes.
Okay, cool. And microphones felt like a window out into, I don't know, like into a bigger space. And I feel like it was that my voice was amplified. So I don't know, I just fell in love with them, doing MC events for my school and for groups and things like that. And then I had a little radio show, and then I had to move to the States in late 1999. So, and then I thought my dreams were over, because up until that point, like, I thought I was going to be like Oprah back home. We had our own version of Oprah, and everybody would say that, like, oh, you're going to be this, and you're like this, and you're so natural. And then I moved here, I didn't speak the language. So
terrifying. Super
terrifying.
Scary. Yeah.
And, starting in a new society and culture, you have no friends, you don't speak the language. I spoke a little English. I thought I spoke more, and then I came here and I couldn't understand anybody. And so, this was 17 years ago. So I literally had to start over, and it took me about 6 years of being here in the States, 6-7 years, to start speaking up again and in finding my voice. And now in a new language, I always thought people weren't going to take me seriously because I have an accent or I didn't speak English perfectly, right?
Right.
Listening to me now, you're like, what? You speak great.
Right.
I thought that I didn't, and I would never raise my hand in college because I was afraid of being made fun of. So anyway, I feel like there's a theme there for me now that I'm actually talking about it and noticing it, like the being made fun of or not taken seriously. But this whole like becoming a motivational speaker and now getting paid to speak and travel the world, it's just so, I would say surreal, but it's not. It's so real. It's so real.
Yeah.
it's real. It's my life. Like I was last Friday, a week ago, I was invited to speak in Luxembourg and Amsterdam with a week apart. And I just had a moment of like, thank you, God. Like what? Do I get
Right.
to choose?
Awesome.
I get to choose. I get to turn one of these down. So now I'm making it work to where I do both, right? But it's like, it's happening, and I didn't even speak the language so long ago. But I
Right.
think we definitely, Sage, I definitely want to take the conversation over maybe to the practical steps, but also to share with the audience if you're a woman that want more out of life and want more freedom. And I think this concept of opening up to receiving will really help you
Totally.
understand, right? And understand where somehow unconsciously, unintentionally, you decided or you chose that it was not safe for you to assert your needs, speak up.
And I want to ask you about some of the steps, but I got to say something here because it's so good what you said. And I want to just pause you, which is, look, wherever you're at, where you're listening, it's fine. Like to those who are listening and tuning in, like I think what Maru just shared so brilliantly is that we go through cycles and rhythms of self-discovery again and again and again, and new levels of unfolding, right? Like as a young girl feeling like nobody takes me seriously, and then discovering a microphone and being like, booyah, I'm going to be Venezuela's Oprah. And then moving to a new country and being like, yikes, actually, I'm totally starting over again and getting quiet. And then boom, getting infinite receiving and being like, wait, here's my stage again. Here's my opportunity to shine. I just want to say, like, life has rhythms. And if you're listening to this show, no matter where you're at, you get to now decide which direction you want to move into. And that to me is like the power of paying attention to being in the driver's seat of your life, and really showing up courageously to create a life that matters to you. Because life happens. It was scary as hell when you moved here. You really, really, really were starting from scratch in some ways, and I've been through my own challenges, and those who've listened know about them. Like you do have recurring opportunities to make a change. I guess that's what I want to say here.
Thank you.
Recurring opportunities to make a change. And maybe this podcast right now is that opportunity for you. So tell us, Maru, like in our time left, what are some of the basic steps that people take when they want to explore this idea of receiving? Because I actually think that's to a lot of women, that's quite like a concept they haven't even really thought of. Like we're really indoctrinated in Western culture to give.
Yeah.
And be generous and to put others first and not rock the boat and not make waves, all these expressions, right? Take care of other people, don't disappoint, blah, blah, blah. So what would be like those first initial steps to explore like, am I able to actually receive like love, money, accolades, compliments, what would you say?
Yeah. So just at least 4 or 5 common behaviors that we all do, and they're so automatic that you don't even question them. So when I share them with people, they're like, what does that got to do with anything? So let me start. The first one is, oh my God, I can't believe this is happening to me. The first one is about language, right? How many times have things occurred to you, successes, accolades, compliments, or, you get asked out by a hot guy or something, I don't know. And you're like, oh my God, that never happens to me. I never win anything. I can't believe that's happening to me. No way. So I first want to start by bringing attention to your language, and catching yourselves that we're creating with language, right? And when something good happens, when you receive something that you're expecting or that you really wanted, and with those reactions, right, of, oh my God, being skeptical, essentially, right? Mm-hmm. I really think that what you're saying with your reaction or overreaction is like, I'm surprised I'm getting this. I'm just totally surprised that this actually really did happen. And without you even knowing it, right? Like it's an unintentional thing. I used to say this all the time and I didn't know it was wrong. I'm not saying that it's wrong,
but it blocks your receiving.
You to notice that, but it does block your receiving, because it's almost like, Sage, if you were to give me, you're like, Maru, I want to donate $100 to your cause or your challenges, or I'll just pay you $100,000 to coach me or something. And instead of me being like, absolutely, yes, it's right for you to make that choice or that decision because it's going to pay off infinitely. And I'm like, are you sure? That's a lot more. Like, you don't have to pay me that much. Like, this never happens to me. I never get more deposits than credits. Oh my God. Like, you start shrinking, right? With your energy, your reactions, you get, help me explain this because I'm having like a little trouble.
No, you're doing a great job. So basically, the first one is really a behavior that is the language of skepticism. And as soon as you go there, you kind of put up a wall, a block that like doesn't allow you certain things to land for you. Like, if I'm going to say I charge $100,000 a year to coach somebody, me and Tony Robbins or whatever, I think he's $1 million. And somebody goes, oh, sure, here it is. And I go, oh, wait, actually, I was kidding. Like, what? It's almost like, no way, I wasn't. Then I immediately take away that beautiful exchange of what I'm worth, right? Because I've
Thank
deflected
you.
it with my language.
Thank you. And we go into compliments after, right? Like if I say, oh my gosh, you look so good today. And then you go into like, yeah, I've been on a juice cleanse. I just lost 5 pounds. I changed my foundation. I bought this shirt. It's at Walmart. It's $5. Like we all do that, right?
As
But what
opposed to just thank you.
as opposed to just like, no, thank you. So how is that a potential block to receiving? Is because you're getting this beautiful energy and acknowledgement of your energy, your beauty, right? Whether it's a compliment on your jacket or just how you look today, it's something that you chose for you. It's you. You know what I mean? It's how you dress yourself up or how you cleaned your house or something. And if you go into, well, no, I didn't do it. It was a cleaning lady or, it's just, oh my God, we do it in so many ways. It's ridiculous. It's
Totally.
absolutely ridiculous.
Totally.
And it's just this energy of like, it
I
puts
don't deserve. It's an energy of like, I don't deserve.
yeah, it's almost like I'm not worthy of the acknowledgement or the accolades. And ultimately what I propose is that is shrinking your power and it's also shrinking your bank account. It's shrinking your success, is shrinking because everything's connected. And what I've noticed in my life is all these little tiny things that I'm going to talk about that are very practical. When I started being more aware of them and paying attention, oh my God, like now I live this, I breathe it, and my life is easy. It really is. That doesn't mean I have zero struggles, but I just don't suffer anymore. I don't.
Right.
It's just like things are resolved easily because I'm not deflecting or blocking myself. I'm just like, oh, what's this here to teach me? Another really common behavior is not asking for help. So it's also not holding people accountable. So like your husband or your kids or your team, right? Like it's very common that people have a team. And I know this has happened to me, right? And then I will end up taking it all back and just doing it myself, right?
Right.
So it's just not allowing people to do what they're supposed to do and you take it all on yourself. This sort of martyrdom or like, oh, I don't want to appear weak or vulnerable or that's too scary. Again, this isn't an absolute, but I want you to check yourselves because maybe you are meant to be more supported and there's a belief that maybe if you ask for help, like that's just not cool.
Right.
Or
It's not strong or you should be able to figure it all out on your own. And, for my audience who's listening to this, that's a big one, I think, because it's usually pretty high achieving, smart, capable women who feel like they should always be driving and striving to, be better moms, be better wives, be better friends, and be more successful in their careers all at the same time. And so this idea of like not receiving support is huge. And honestly, I would say your relationships suffer, because people want to help each other. Like actually people feel good when they are allowed to contribute to you.
Totally. Yeah. And it's like letting other people minister. It's like people want to help and we block that. I always tell people that Beyonce writes a lot of songs about women run the world and, and Miss Independent and independent women. But do you really think she does it on her own? No.
Right.
It's like, okay,
gosh, I love Beyonce.
Strong. I love her too. And I just think we have it twisted.
Right.
You're like, yeah, being a strong, independent woman means I get to do it all myself.
No way.
Oh, no.
Way.
That means you get really smart and strategic about where you spend your time. And maybe your time is not meant to be spent ironing clothes or,
Yeah, I always say the laundry can wait. Like your soul is waiting, your passion, your marriage, like they all should trump it. You know what I mean? Like if you walked into my house right now, you would see like the counter is completely covered. What I call it the lab. And it's where my kids get to make a huge mess and create things all the time. I don't clean it up. Like maybe once a week, I'll like tidy it up. But like, I'm like, that's just not where I'm putting my energy. I'd rather do the podcast interview and share people's stories. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I love it. Good for you. Another one. I mean, we could spend enough time on each one of these, right? But in the interest of time, I wanted to touch on some of the most important ones. Saving the best for last is one of those that you just naturally do, right? Like you eat the best thing on the plate, you eat it last. You save the china for Easter or Christmas. You save red lipstick or underwear or a certain dress for a special occasion. And for me, I had this very special blue shirt that every time I would wear it, I would feel super special. This is prior to Infinite Receiving, but there was something special about this particular shirt. And once Infinite Receiving came to me and this particular principle of don't save the best for last, best always first, I started wearing that shirt and I was like, why do I feel like I can only wear it once every 2 months? It's like, make sure that people don't think I'm repeating myself, right?
Mm.
I was like, what? I was like, I'm just gonna buy a whole bunch of the same shirt and just wear it,
And
wear the
rock
crap
it.
out of it.
Yeah.
And then that's exactly what I ended up doing. I just changed my entire wardrobe to blue. And I'm like, why would I just hold out to wear my best color once a year or once every 2 months? No, I'll just wear it all the time. And it's amazing. It sort of speeds up things coming to you. I don't know why, but I think I know, but maybe I'm downplaying this, but like it really helps, if you wear your best underwear, if you're not saving things for a special occasion, if you have a dream of going to an island, or maybe you have a massage that it's been sitting in your nightstand for a year, go book it. What are you waiting for? That
Totally.
perfect time is come. So same with ideas, pulling the trigger on them. You're waiting
Well,
for
I think
all the.
that's one of my favorite ones you gave me. I just have to say, like, I love that. I'll be like, yeah, I can wear this. I want to feel hot today. I'm going to wear this now. It doesn't have to be for date night. Like, and I feel like it goes back to this principle of deserving, like, yet again, like deserving support, deserving to receive the compliment, the money, it's still, it sends kind of a message like, hey, I'm worthy every day. Like, what am I waiting for? I'm worthy every day. Like, this is,
Right.
I love that so much.
Yeah, absolutely. And just like this, I have like at least another 40 common behaviors or common reactions that are blocking your infinite receiving. So I would definitely encourage you to check those out as well. But I want to sort of wrap up with talking about this humbleness and modesty and how it's so rampant in women, right? That we're taught to
Totally.
not share too much, not speak up too much, not whatever the case is. And I think we were taught to be modest, but I really think that what we were taught was to shrink,
To be
to
silent.
hide, to hold back, to measure our self-expression,
To censor
and
ourselves.
censor ourselves, dilute what we're going to say. Like, you don't want to be too strong because that's a turn off. Maybe you won't be liked. You don't want to be like a man or something. And
Right.
that's how I grew up. And I didn't realize until very recently that instead of me, that I thought I was being humble and modest, but truly what I was doing is hiding. And this is huge because the universe cannot reach you. And by the universe, I mean opportunities, people that are meant to connect with you, the love of your life. If you're just showing a 30% version of you or 70% version of you, right? It's like they cannot truly connect with you. Kind of like what you were saying, right? They won't know you. And we don't come out full throttle or full frontal like right away because we're just like, it's like, no, that's too much, right? Like, I'm not going to share that much. I don't want to make people uncomfortable, or I don't want to make them think like I'm boasting or like I'm fishing for compliment, or what are the common ones? Like getting too big for my own
Or
britches.
britches. Yep. Yep. All of
All
it. There's
stuff,
so many phrases for it. Yeah.
all of it. Yeah, so many phrases for it. And what I want to propose is that, or, some food for thought for those that are listening, is that maybe modesty and humbleness, it's an attitude, right? I think it's a way of being more so a set of specific behaviors that you don't do in order to fit in. And I know plenty, I've had to redefine humbleness for myself. I had to find new models of people that were very humble and rich, because what this belief was causing in my life, right, that this modesty and humbleness and humility, coming at it from a place of shrinking, was keeping me very broke. Very broke, and in relationships that I did not belong in. So instead of hiding and shrinking yourself, like, I really want you to know that celebrating yourself, owning your success, expressing yourself, speaking up, asking for your needs does not make you less humble or less modest. It actually just makes you you, and that we're not serving anyone by shrinking or hiding. And just don't do it in the name of humility and modesty, because that's not true humility. That's just plain shrinking. That's protectionism. It really is. It's like protecting yourself, right? And I did this, Sage, and when I changed this particular one, where I was like, I'm going to start sharing more of my wins and celebrating myself. And if it makes people uncomfortable, if they think I'm bragging or coming at it from a place of superiority, that's their issue. Maybe they're uncomfortable, but I need to do this for myself. And my success completely changed.
Yeah. Oh my gosh, it's huge. That one, whew, Maru, that's a great one just to end it on, because we could go on and on and on. I mean, I could ask you a million questions and we could go
Yeah.
on and on, because honestly, it's like an epidemic for women
Yeah.
to
It's rampant. Yeah, for sure.
play small, to shrink, to hide out. I mean, I wrote down humility versus hiding. I just love that so much. And it's uncomfortable to step out in a bigger way. I mean, I just was, as a podcaster, was just learning, as a new podcaster, was just learning that only 15% of podcasts are hosted by women. You know what I mean? And I was like, of course, right? Like that needs to change. And so I just want to thank you so much for, being kind of a beacon of light and of hope for anyone, all women out there who are listening, who are like, I'm so ready to show up and to really take the next step to really expressing who I am and to receiving the money, the love, the attention, the support, the encouragement that I deserve. I mean, it's just huge. And I'll make sure that I put the link to your resources in the show notes. So if you're listening, make sure you go on over to the show notes at sagebhabs.com/podcast, and you'll find Maru's episode there with all of the goodies around like how to find out more about Infinite Receiving, the course, the work. Also, she's really all over social in a fun, very open, naked way. So if you're a Facebooker, find her there because you will get stories that really like bring it home for you in very, very real and meaningful ways, which I really love about you, Maru.
Yay. Well, thank you.
I love
you. Thank you for creating the platform and thank you for letting me share.
Oh my gosh, my absolute pleasure. Can't wait to do it again.
Yes, for sure. Yeah, I'd love to have you on my social media as well. So I look forward to meeting more of your audience and invite me again.
Yay. All right. Talk to you soon. Love.
Thank you. Bye, everyone.
Bye. Thank you so much for listening to Naked Conversations. Yay! It really means the world to me every time you show up. And if you want to know more about how to work with me personally and my coaching, you can check that out over at sagebhabs.com. You can also get some great free resources over there about how to make powerful requests and many blog posts full of resources for living a naked life, as well as grab a copy of my book, Naked Communication, Courageously Create the Relationships You Really Want. And lastly, keep the conversation going with us over in the Facebook community, sagebhabs.com/Facebook, where we can keep talking about these super important and powerful topics of living a life fully expressed. Thanks again. See you next time.